So we're in the playoffs. All we need to do is beat Gabon home and away, and we're not so fast. So first off, I wouldn't be fair here because I think that it would be wrong for me not to do this. So I wouldn't be fair here. I want to give my congratulations because I have many South African friends, obviously on here in real life and everything. So I have to give congratulations, jubilations to South Africa for qualifying for the World Cup. I think the last time they were there was 2010 when they hosted it, and I always liked 2010. Not for the football, but I loved the vuvuzelas. People said, "Oh, the vuvuzelas were annoying." Those vuvuzelas just brought a very good specific African vibe. Hate Sepp Blatter all you want. Hate Sepp Blatter all you want. Look at how Infantino is moving. Sepp Blatter fought for a World Cup to be held in Africa. When there were other countries that were like, "Oh no, Africa can't host it. They're too disorganized. Give it to us." Sepp Blatter fought for there to be a World Cup on African soil. And for that, I will always, always, always give Sepp Blatter his kudos. I'll always be there to defend Sepp Blatter, bro. So it's been a long time. And congrats for South Africa. They'll bring a brand. Just look at, because there's always the guy with the massive sunglasses who's always like I think he's like one of the very famous supporters there. And always bring in a nice kind of vibe and culture and vibrancy to basically as all African fans do, but specifically for South Africa. And 2010 is a long time since they've been able to say what's up. So it's been a long time coming for those guys. It'll be 16 years, 16 years. So congrats. I want to say congrats. I saw the highlights of the game. And the performance by the Rwandan goalkeeper was insane. So all I'm going to say, but that performance by the Rwandan goalkeeper was absolute insanity. I'm sorry. It was simply ridiculous. It was simply ridiculous, and I just do not. For me, it's indefensible. What he did was indefensible because two of those goals, I was like, what? But it is what it is. It's happened and everything. But looking at those goals again, I was like, bro, that's keeper, my lord in heaven. But it is what it is. Nigeria should have beaten Zimbabwe at least once, or rather twice. But Nigeria made it through. So actually, well, no, before we go, so these are the guys who've officially made it through. So Algeria, Cape Verde, Egypt, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Morocco, Senegal, South Africa, and Tunisia. Those are the guys. Those are Africa's official guys that have made it through. So obviously, shout out to Cape Verde, their very first World Cup that they've been to. South Africa obviously has not been there in a while, and I think people will definitely be looking at Cote d'Ivoire and people will be looking at Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and Morocco to really lead Africa through. Because I think those are the stronger nations. Is really Morocco, Senegal, and Ivory Coast. But look, shout out to North Africa, pretty good showing by North Africa. Like when you look at Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia. All the North African sides saying what's up. So look, here's the thing. Do you know what's so funny? Looking at this again, imagine if Oyeka did not score that goal. Because I was just looking at the table, and I'll probably bring up the table. You'll see. If Oyeka doesn't score that goal, I don't think Nigeria make it. So that's just how important that final goal was that Nigeria scored. Because again, if you look at the table, so if Nigeria didn't score that goal, I think Burkina Faso would have had. So Nigeria would have probably had like a GD of 12, and I think Burkina Faso a GD of 13. Perhaps, or other Burkina Faso would have had more goals. So, no, sorry, I messed up. Sorry. So I think that table there is goals scored, the 13, I believe, and goals conceded is the other one over there. So, put it this way, Nigeria had to, because if Nigeria did not score that, I believe Burkina Faso would have taken that place instead of Nigeria. So, that was actually very key. So, let's not talk about where it gets real right now. So, there we have it. So, Nigeria face Gabon. So for guys who don't know, let me explain for guys who don't know. This is a playoff tournament. One game. Neutral venue. So no two legs, it's one game. So it's a semi-final, it's a final. So in one semi-final, Nigeria face Gabon. In the other semi-final, Cameroon faced DR Congo. So if you look at this again, so let me read this down. So as you can see, so it's first against fourth, second against third. So obviously, as you can see, Gabon, Nigeria first for fourth, Congo, Cameroon second against third, and then the winners of those semi-finals obviously play in the final. So it gets real. So for Nigeria to go through, this is what this Nigeria does go through. They need to beat Gabon. They need to beat the winner of Cameroon and DR Congo. Then they have a continental playoff against Mexico a continental playoff in Mexico against either Bolivia or Jamaica, most likely. And that's going to take place in March. So these games will take place, I believe, on the 16th of November. And I think basically it's around November. I don't know whether it's the 13th or the 16th of November are these playoff games. Then in March, it's going to be those playoffs. So it's similar to what they did in the last playoff. So the draw for the World Cup is December 6th. So when they do the draw, as it did 4 years ago, they'll pull out a name that will say, oh, the winner of this playoff draw. So it will either be the African team or the Jamaica or the Bolivian team who will go through. So because those games are going to be played after the playoff draw, because the World Cup draw is December 6th. That continental playoff is going to be in March next year. So it's all crazy. So look, it ain't going to be easy. It ain't going to be easy. And this is what I try to explain to people. For Nigeria, this was an excellent performance against Benin. Superb. 4-0. Osimhen came through. He came clutch. But you know how when you play a video game, stuff gets harder and harder and harder? Like, again, like one of my favorite games is Final Fantasy. So first few bosses in Final Fantasy, it's fine. You can do your thing. By the time you get to like the third to last or the second to last boss, you have to be using high potions, elixirs. Your strategic thing has got to be freaking crazy. Okay, when do I use the potion? When do I use that? You're literally on like 2-3 health. They have to do one last mega potion, and you have to use specific tactics. So we have to now wait to use our final special ability. So the bosses get a lot harder the further you get into the game. And that's what we're going to see here. Because Gabon ends Benin. I look at Benin, they're not great. They're not great. Gabon is a pretty damn good team. And when you look at that table, Gabon, so they were the best second place team. So Nigeria were the worst second place team. Gabon were the best second place team. And they have one of the best strikers in Africa still now, Aubameyang. So it's really going to be touted as Osimhen against Aubameyang. So first we're going to get through Gabon. Then you have to face one of our fierce rivals in Cameroon or a very tricky team in DR Congo. Then, because here's the thing so it's a sort of a weird video game. This is a video game where the last boss may actually be the easiest boss. So the easiest game should be that continental playoff next year. Like anybody who wins this should beat either Bolivia or Jamaica. And if it is Bolivia, you don't need to look like Bane to face them. Because again, if you face Bolivia, in Bolivia, you've got to look like Bane. This is just like what's it called, oxygen tanks. You have to pretty much wear an oxygen tank on yourself. You have to be Bane to face Bolivia at altitude. But that game is going to be, I believe, in Mexico. So it's going to heavily favor a African team. So that's the reality there. So if you come through this, you should pretty much have booked your tickets all the way through. But before you get there, this is tough, bro. Like put it this way, if it was Gabon home and away, that is still very hard. That would still be a very tough game. But you looked at just how Nigeria finally uses the power of the home nation to really urge them through. The issue about this is that it's a one-off game. It's a neutral venue. And not so, even after you beat Gabon, Cameroon is going to be hard. Because Cameroon, those are guys that know Nigeria very well, and we have a long history with Cameroon. And if it's not Cameroon, it's DR Congo. Shout out to Elijah and Miss B Nation. It's DR Congo, and DR Congo, that's a very tricky damn team to face. That's a very tricky damn team. Because DR Congo they're hot or cold. If they're cold, you're lucky. They just miss all their chances. If they're hot, it could be very problematic. So it's going to be crazy, but again, we're back here to do it. But look, at the end of the day, put it this way, at least Nigeria in the mix. At least they're in the mix. This is a much trickier way to go through. It's much harder. But my thing, though, is that, bro, look at all the teams that made it through. Look at all the teams that made it through. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Bro, 9 teams. So there are going to be potentially 10 African teams there. So come on, bro. It's more than enough teams to say what's up. More than enough teams to say what's up. And the fact that Nigeria should have won that group. So again, congrats to South Africa. South Africa 100% they deserve it. And if not for them putting an ineligible player, they'd have made it through all the way. But it is what it is. But all that needs to matter is now again. These are 3 humongous games and 3 must-winning games to book that ticket for the World Cup. It ain't going to be easy. But the same one, nothing in life is easy, man. So, need to say what's up. Get real. Think about becoming a Football Hut member. If you're a desktop merchant, just click on the join button below, over here. Or, if you're a mobile phone merchant, just click on the join button below the video over here and join the true elite content crack addicts. Peace.